hear me? Yes. So I start the presentation on the multi-scale analysis of the radiothermal aging of cross-linked polyethylene cable insulation in nuclear environment. So I will present the first part on the stabilization and oxidation mechanisms. And my colleague, Sébastien Roland, which is also from Arts-et-Métiers in Paris, France, will present a second part on the consequences of the oxidation mechanisms on the structure at upper scale. So the consequences on physical and mechanical properties.
What if you take your mask?
You want I can like this?
Yeah.
It's better. Okay. So here are the outline of my presentation. So in the first part, I will present you the main stage in polymer degradation by oxidation. So we will see that, in fact, we have to consider first the polymer stabilization before the polymer oxidation. But since it is necessary to understand the polymer oxidation before to find and understand how it is possible to stabilize the polymer, I will present you these two types of mechanisms in the opposite order of their chronological order of appearance. And in a final part, after this detail, I will show you that, in fact, the antioxidant depletion is not only due to their physical loss by diffusion across the sample core or by evaporation of extraction from the sample surface. So it is not only due to the chemical consumption from the polymer stabilization, but it is also due to this physical loss. And so I will conclude. So to start, I will present you a general graph showing the main stage in polymer degradation by oxidation. So this graph was first shown in the case of geotextile membranes etched in natural condition, in outdoor condition. But this graph, in fact, is also valid for all type of oxidation reaction in hydrocarbon polymer. So it is composed of three main stages. So the first stage, it is called here A. In fact, in this stage, you have it corresponds to the stabilization stage. The polymer is protected by the antioxidant. But during this stage, the antioxidants are progressively consumed by chemical reaction, by the stabilization reaction, and also are lost physically. So after this first stage, the oxidation of the polymer could start. In fact, it is considered in the literature that the polymer behaves as an unstabilized polymer with its own induction period B. And so you have to wait a certain time to detect oxidation. And when oxidation is detected by classical physical-chemical technique, you have a catastrophic decrease of the use properties up to the failure of the polymer part. So it is classical, it is conventional in the literature to define the lifetime of the polymer piece on the basis of a critical value of the use property, not here PC. In fact, this value is often called the end-of-life criterion. So now if we look in detail the different mechanisms responsible for these different stages, starting from the polymer oxidation before understanding the action of the antioxidant. So in the literature, the first work on the understanding of the polymer oxidation took place in the 1930s. They were initiated by a Russian researcher named Semenov. Semenov was awarded the Nobel Prize in 1956. And then this oxidation reaction were continue to be studied by British co-workers, Bolin et Jin, in the 1940s. So the research of these two groups of researchers lead to the famous standard oxidation mechanistic scheme for the oxidation of hydrocarbon polymer. And in the case of an oxidation in a radical environment, this mechanistic scheme can be presented as follows. So in fact, it is a radical chain oxidation, which is initiated both by the polymer radiolysis and the hydroperoxide thermolysis, POH, for the hydroperoxide. And these two initiation reactions leads to the breaking of covalent bond in the polymer structure, and they generate a free radical which can propagate the oxidation and lead to different oxidation species. Of course, this radical not only propagate oxidation, then can only result in termination reaction. In fact, they deactivated in pairs, that is to say, by bimolecular combination. So one simple way to represent this radical chain oxidation is present here in this scheme. You can see that the radiolytic initiation has been voluntarily considered as the initiation extrinsic to the reaction medium, because it is generated by an external source of irradiation, unlike the thermal initiation, which is combined with the propagation of the oxidation. And this combination leads to the formation, in fact, of a closed loop path in which oxidation propagates and leads to the formation of hydroperoxide, which decompose, and you have a new step of propagation of oxidation. So it is really a closed loop mechanism. So the peculiarity of this closed loop mechanism is that it initiates its thermal initiator. This closed loop character explains well, in fact, the sharp O2 acceleration of the oxidation at the end of the induction period. So now, if you have a detailed look at this different reaction, starting from the radiolytic initiation, in fact, ionizing radiation are energetic enough to destroy, to break all the polymer bonds. So you can break carbon-carbon bond and carbon-nitrogen bond very easily. And for a sake of simplicity, it is considered that the radicals are formed by the radiolytic decomposition of the chemical bond in greater concentration. So in the case of polyethylene, this bond are the CH bond, in fact. So this decomposition of CH bond leads to alkyl radical, which can propagate the oxidation. But they lead also to a very small radical, that's very reactive radical, hydrogen radical, which can react very rapidly with the CH bond, which are present in the immediate vicinity of this radical. So this radical abstract one hydrogen from another CH bond in order to form the hydrogen. Since this second step is very fast, so in kinetics, it is possible, it is licit to sum up all these two reactions in order to write a balanced reaction in which the radiolysis of the polymer generates radicals and hydrogen. Of course, the rate of this balanced reaction corresponds to the rate of the initial step, because it is the limiting step of the balanced reaction. Now, a look at the thermal initiation. In fact, hydroperoxide can decompose in two competitive ways. You can have a unimolecular and a bimolecular decomposition of hydroperoxide, but it was demonstrated in the literature that at a temperature typically below than 200 degrees C, the bimolecular decomposition is largely predominant over the unimolecular decomposition. So this, we will consider only this bimolecular decomposition because it corresponds to the, as shown by Nixon, it corresponds to the environmental condition in nuclear power plant, even in the event of an accidental condition, in the event of an accident, nuclear accident. So this bimolar decomposition is represented here. In fact, two hydroperoxide establish an hydrogen bond by interaction between oxygen and hydrogen atoms when they decompose. And you have the formation of peroxy radical, which can propagate the oxidation, and also the formation of an alkoxy radical. So this alkoxy radical is very unstable, and so it will rearrange very rapidly in two possible ways. The first one is the classical hydrogen abstraction. So you abstract one hydrogen atom from a polyethylene chain, and you form an alcohol. The second possibility is the beta scission. In beta of the radical, you break the bond, so you form one radical and a carbonyl species, which is called here an aldehyde. So you generate a lot of aldehyde in the case of polyethylene. This beta scission, in fact, is the main chain scission mechanism in the polymer oxidation. So it is something quite general. So since these two competitive steps are faster than the first step, yeah, so it is also possible to write to sum them all and to write a balanced reaction in which you have the appearance of all the radical species and the oxidation product. And you have also the formation of the chain scission. Gamma 1 is the yield of formation in chain scission. And of course, this balanced reaction goes at the same rate as the first step, because the first step is a limiting reaction. Now, if we have a rapid look on the propagation, in fact, the propagation of oxidation consists in two successive steps. The first one is a very rapid addition of oxygen molecule onto alkyl radical in order to form peroxide radical. So this reaction is very, very fast. You have here the order of magnitude of the corresponding rate constant. And you have a second step, which is considerably slower. It is the hydrogen abstraction. So the peroxide radical abstract one hydrogen atom to a polymer chain in order to form an hydroperoxide and a new alkyl radical. And in fact, the rate of this reaction depends at the first order on the lability of the CH bond, the ability to abstract this CH bond. So in the literature, Korsek has shown that in fact the rate constant of this reaction, the logarithm of this rate constant is a linear decreasing function of the dissociation energy of the CH bond. It is called here ED. So in this table, you have the dissociation energy of the different CH bond you can find in hydrocarbon polymer. So on the top, you have the CH bond the most sensitive to oxidation, and at the bottom, you have the more stable CH bonds. So in our case, in the case of polyethylene, you can see that the polyethylene is a moderately oxidizable polymer. It is much oxidizable than unsaturated elastomer, like polyisoprene, natural rubber, and polybutadiene, for instance. So with this dissociation energy and with this relationship, you can have an idea, if you know the chemical structure of your polymer, you can have an idea on the stability to oxidation of this polymer. So as an example here, you can see the value of this rate constant calculated at room temperature for polyethylene and polypropylene, and for unsaturated elastomer. You can see that you have a strong difference, which explains why elastomers are considerably much oxidizable than polyolefin. So now, radical, not all the radical propagate oxidation. They can also give termination. So in fact, you have this termination correspond to bimolecular recombination between radical. So the first one, the faster termination is a termination between two alkyl radical. So you have two possibilities. The first one is a deproportionation. The deproportionation consists in an hydrogen atom exchange between two polymer chains. So in this case, you form an unsaturation, a double bond. And the second possibility is the coupling between two alkyl radicals. So in this case, you form a dialkyl bridge, a crosslink, that is to say, a welding between two polymer chains. So the balance reaction, it is possible to write a balance reaction, taking into account all these reactions. In this balance reaction, the gamma 4 corresponds to the yield in crosslinking. So in the case of alkyl and peroxide radical, you have the same type of reaction, but you have a small difference between the degradation product. Instead of forming polymer substrate and the alkyl bridge, in fact, you form hydroperoxide and peroxide bridge. So you can also write a balanced reaction, taking into account these two reactions, and gamma 5 correspond in this case of the yield of cross-linking corresponding to the peroxide bridge. So in the case of peroxide radicals, the termination are quite different. In fact, it was shown in the literature that you have a first coupling between two peroxide radicals. So you form a tetraoxide structure, which is very, very unstable. It cannot survive even at low temperature, at ambient temperature. So it decomposes quasi immediately in order to form two alkoxy radicals, and you have the release of oxygen molecule. And in fact, this termination is the same as the termination between two alkoxy radicals. So you have two possibilities. So the disproportionation, so an exchange of hydrogen atom. You form alcohol and carbonyl species named here ketones. And you can have also the coupling, so the formation of a peroxide bridge crosslink. So in the literature, this mechanism has been studied, in particular by Russell. And Russell shows that, in fact, the disproportionation of alkoxy radical is largely faster than the coupling, considerably faster than the coupling. So it is possible, in the case of polyethylene, in the first approach, to neglect the coupling. But in the literature, it was also shown that alkoxy radical can be involved in many other reactions. So if you remember, I've shown you in my first slide that, in fact, this alkoxy radical can abstract hydrogen to form alcohol, or can decompose rapidly by beta scission to give aldehyde. So, in fact, we can propose a balanced reaction, a simplified balanced reaction, taking into account the predominant chemical reaction. So, as follows. So, in this reaction, we consider the oxidation product and the chain scission. So, gamma 6 prime prime is in this case is a yield in chain scission. Sorry. So, in fact, all the reactions I've shown you constitute the radiothermal mechanism scheme for oxidation of hydrocarbon polymer. You can use this scheme in order to predict the trend of the oxidation kinetics, calculate the oxidation rate, calculate the length of the induction time. So you obtain a very nice result. But you have not all the products which are formed during the oxidation. It is due to the fact that during oxidation, you have also many side reactions, which are not important for the kinetic, but which are important if you want to explain the formation of all oxidation product. In particular, it is well known in the literature that aldehyde can easily oxidize into carboxylic acid, because this aldehyde presents an hydrogen atom with a very low dissociation energy, just barely higher than the value I have gave you for the unsaturated elastomer. So in this case, you form easily carboxylic acid. Yeah. In the literature, it was also shown that carboxylic acid can condensate into anhydride, so you can observe the formation of many anhydride. And you have also the condensation between acid and alcohol to form ester. So, in fact, you have a wide variety of many oxidation products, and in particular carbonyl products, which can be detected by classical spectrochemical technique, in particular by Fourier transform infrared spectroscopy. So you have here the name of all these different products. But it was also demonstrated, it is a chance for us, that ketone remains the major carbonyl product in the case of polyethylene. So we can simplify when we want to calculate kinetic, we can simplify the dissipation. We have understand the oxidation. I show you that you have a closed loop mechanism in particular. It's a case of oxidation. So now it is possible to consider the polymer stabilization. So in the literature, antioxidants are used to stabilize polymer against oxidation, and you have two main types of current antioxidant used in industry to break this oxidation loop. In fact, in two different places. So we can use preventive antioxidants, such as organic phosphate and sulfide, in order to decompose hydroperoxide in a non-radical way, and thus to suppress the thermal initiation. And you have also the second possibility is to use a chain-breaking antioxidant like indurate and secondary aromatic amine, which capture peroxy radical. And thus, in this case, you can interrupt the second step of the propagation of oxidation. So if we have a look at these two types of antioxidant, so if we consider thiodipropionate as preventive antioxidant, so in fact, you have two molecules which is currently used in industry. This molecule just differentiate by the length of the hydrocarbon chain. In fact, this length is increased in order to increase the solubility of the antioxidant molecule in the polymer matrix, and also to reduce the physical loss by diffusion and evaporation of this molecule from the polymer matrix. So the main stabilization mechanism is summarized below. So in fact, this antioxidant reduces the hydroperoxide to give an alcohol. And alcohol is a stable product, so you stop totally, in this case, the thermal initiation of the oxidation. If we consider the chain-breaking antioxidant, so the monophenol, indurate monophenol as chain-breaking antioxidant. So I give you here, I show you here the general chemical formula of this antioxidant. So in general, the alkyl group correspond to tertiobutyl, and R correspond also to a long hydrocarbon chain in order to increase the solubility of this molecule in the polymer matrix and reduce its physical loss. The particularity of this molecule is to have a very labile hydrogen atom, considerably much labile than in polymer structure. The dissociation energy of the H bond is of the order of 335, 355 kilojoule per mole. So it is something very low. It is lower than the CH bond in unsaturated elastomer. So, in fact, due to this very low dissociation energy, this molecule can give easily an hydrogen atom to a peroxide radical in order to form an hydroperoxide and to obtain a phenoxy radical, not here a point. So the particularity of this phenoxy radical is to give resonance with another radical, so they can isomerize rapidly in another radical, named here a B point. And in the literature, it was shown that this radical is not so reactive. It cannot initiate oxidation reaction. It cannot abstract hydrogen atom from a polymer chain, but in contrast, it can react with a peroxide radical to give a second stabilization step. So it is possible. It is considered in the literature that this radical can also stabilize the polymer against oxidation. So in fact, it grafts on the polymer structure. So now just to finish my presentation, I want to insist on the fact that the depletion of antioxidant is not only due to chemical consumption by stabilization reaction, but it can be also due to physical loss, which is represented here. So you have two mechanisms depending on the location of the antioxidant molecule in the sample depth. If the molecule is in the core of the sample, it can be lost by diffusion from the center towards the surface. And close to the surface, the antioxidant molecule can be lost by evaporation. So you have a crossing of the polymer air interface. It can be also lost by extraction by a liquid or solvent, for instance, by water. So in general, in the case of thick sample, typically few millimeters thick, it is necessary to take into account the two physical mechanisms, diffusion and evaporation or extraction. But in the case of very thin sample, typically few hundred microns, we consider that the diffusion is very fast, so it can be neglected. The physical loss is directly controlled by the evaporation of the water extraction. So it is possible to consider different thickness of sample in order to have a decoupling of these two physical mechanisms. So, as a conclusion, so we have seen that the polymer oxidation is preceded by the depletion of antioxidant. So in fact, you have the formation of an induction period during which the polymer structure is apparently intact. So in this induction period, you have a progressive chemical consumption of the antioxidant by stabilization reaction, but you have also a physical loss by diffusion and evaporation of the antioxidant. So the radical chain oxidation is initiated by the polymer radiolysis and the polymer hydroperoxide thermolysis. So it leads to the formation of a wide variety of hydroxyl and carbonyl products. So this, the formation of all these products lead at high conversion ratio on modification of the cohesive density and polarity of the polymer, which has direct consequences on the polymer density and the electrical properties. But oxidation leads also to change in the macromolecular skeleton. We have seen that we can have formation of chain scission, cross-linking, and these macromolecular changes are responsible at low conversion ratio on the modification of mechanical properties, particular elastic and fracture properties. Thank you for your attention. If you have questions,
if you can go to the slide where you presented the dissociation energy, EG with the same goal.
This one?
Yeah, this one. So maybe I haven't listened very well, but the higher the dissociation energy, the easier is the oxidation, or vice versa.
Yes. No, the higher is the dissociation energy, the lower is the rate constant. So you reduce the rate of the propagation of oxidation.
Okay, yeah, indeed, the peak is very difficult to oxidize. So
yes.
Yeah, okay.
It's very, very difficult, but it is possible because recently we done a study on peak, and in fact, if you increase the oxygen partial pressure, you work at 10 bar, 15 bar of pure oxygen. You increase, you accelerate the propagation. In fact, you accelerate this reaction, this propagation here, and so you can observe the degradation of peak.
So in very harsh, let's say, environment.
Yes,
With a
you
lot
have
of
to,
oxygen
yes.
and a lot of pressure. Okay. I have another question related to the termination reactions. You said that there are two possibilities. This one, I guess. Is there a way to understand which one of the two is predominant, or is just depending on?
In general, in the literature, the disproportionation is faster than the coupling. It is a general rule. But it was well established for this radical.
Okay.
For this one, it is now from studies in polymer polymerization.
Ah, okay.
It is classical. But
So
yes.
it is easier to create a double bond rather than a bond that sort of cross-link.
Yes, in general.
Okay.
In general, you have when you, in the case of polymer radiolysis, when you write a model and you calculate, for instance, in the case of polyethylene, in the case of polymer radiolysis, you have only the radiolytic initiation, giving radical a point by irradiation. So
yeah, that's very important.
you have yes, you have only this reaction. And this termination. For me, radiolysis is in the absence of oxygen. And so you can calculate with a very simple model the radiochemical yield of double bond, the radiochemical yield of crosslink,
Yeah.
and also you can check the radiochemical yield of radicals. And in this case, if you model fit all the data, you obtain a very low value of this yield. It is lower than 0.5.
That's interesting because we have also seen that if the double bonds are present, the conductivity of the material is higher.
Yes.
So actually, there would be some.
So in the case of oxidation, all the species close to the double bond can oxidize very easily. So I don't show here. It is a side reaction for me.
Yeah.
But of course, if you look at this table, if you have double bond, you oxidize rapidly this CH bond. So you have many reactions also involving this. As soon as you form your double bond, you have also this product.
Polymers that are in certain sense conductive, that are characterized by double and single bond repetition of those. So yeah, I think that's interesting. I finish.
Yes,
I have a question. So these kind of double bonds that are created are more likely to occur in
oxidation, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because
but they represent a very few part, small part of the degradation process because you form a small quantity. Yeah.
And if you are under nitrogen environment, let's say, so not with a very low quantity of oxygen,
Yes.
that's what you create.
You can see better this double bond. Yes,
double
of course.
bonds.
Yes.
Cross-linking and
Yes.
double bonds.
Yeah. Well, in fact, when you abstract your hydrogen, you can imagine that with this radical, you have a new arrangement of double bond. You have many possibilities. If you have an alkoxy radical, you can imagine that you form an epoxy ring. You have many possibilities. So the double bond can disappear rapidly during oxidation. It's very difficult to.
Thank you.
I have a question concerning the addition of phenolic residue during the aging.
Yes.
Have you an idea of?
This second reaction.
Yeah, the second reaction.
Yes. In fact, we have model, but we have not published. It is in PhD thesis.
Yeah.
You can download on the website of our laboratory. We make a lot of kinetic model on the antioxidant, but it is not published in a real paper. But in fact, in order to you have the possibility to change. Okay.
Yeah,
okay. So in fact, in order to well simulate the induction period in stabilized polymer, for phenol, indirect phenol, we observe that it is necessary to take into account the second step, really. And also, we observe that at the end, the concentration of phenol, the decrease is slower than expected, probably due to this drafting, which prevent the evaporation also of the antioxidant. So for many reasons, it is necessary for the kinetic simulation, it is necessary to take it into account. So for us, it is necessary.
Yeah. But so the yield of the reaction is quite important in that case?
I don't know in that case, because in fact it is in competition with evaporation.
Yeah.
But if you consider not a monophenol but a tetraphenol, for instance, iranostem 10, in this case you have 4 phenol. So the probability to graft the 1010 is very important. And we have looked in the literature of data of publication result of HPLC, and by HPLC they determine the quantity of 1010 graft to the polymer, because they cannot solubly recover the antioxidant to analyze it by HPLC. So they deduce that it is graft, because they have, even after HPLC, they observe in the sample the presence of phenol. Yeah, so for me, this reaction is very important when you have several OH group, phenol group in your molecule. Yeah. When we have only one OH group.
And in materials stabilized by less type of antioxidant, did you see any modification in the carbonyl answer in FTIR or not? For two systems, one stabilized with less type of primary antioxidant and one without any antioxidant, did you see any modification in the FTIR region induced by the addition of this type of molecule? Because
which region?
Carbonyl.
In carbonyl region? You think that the presence of antioxidant can change the...
If you see any difference or not?
No. But it is... because I cannot answer your question, because in fact we consider for the moment the global carbonyl peak. Yeah. On stabilized sample, we don't we don't perform a chemical derivatization. So apparently, if you look at the global carbonyl peak, it seems equivalent to the global carbonyl peak of the unstabilized polymer. But perhaps if we do a chemical derivatization, that means that we make a reaction by a gas treatment of the sample, and so this gas reacts with some carbonyl peak in order to form new peak. It is possible to have a deconvolution, a chemical deconvolution of the carbonyl peak, and to precisely quantify each carbonyl peak, each carbonyl group. We don't do that in the case of stabilized polymer. So I cannot answer. And why you ask this question?
No, I have a question because we did some studies with some materials stabilized with Eganox disease and with Ostanox, so secondary antioxidant, and carbonyl answer of degraded material are quite different in that region. And if you measure the absorption at 170, 14, 70, 15, and 1745, I think, something like that, the relative value of absorbance is quite different in function of the stabilization.
Okay.
So maybe, I don't know if that type of reaction may influence the value of the absorbance or not.
Okay.
So
Okay. So we have to, yes.
it's an open question, I don't know. So.
Yes, yes.
Because I didn't see this type of stabilization.
So in this case, if it is really the case, you can consider that the oxidation mechanism is quite different. So
Yeah, I agree. Always, this type is quite interesting because if you don't have this type of molecules, you don't have that stabilization step. So, of course, you may have some difference concerning carbonyl.
Mhm. Okay.
There are no other questions. I think that we can go on.